So we've all heard it, the money advice that sounds catchy and empowering, and everybody is doing it. But sometimes we start leveraging that money advice and we realize that, you know what, this isn't for me. And in fact, maybe this is for somebody else entirely. Trust me, I have been there. There is a lot of money out advice out there, and this is not about dragging anybody or minimizing the value of any money advice. In fact, some of this advice is advice that I have taken and I have given, and some of it has worked for me. But there have been times when I've been like, wait a minute, in this season, for me, this advice does not work. And so in today's video, I'm going to talk about money advice that does not work and alternatives, what you can do instead. One thing to remember is that when it comes to money advice, just because it's working for everybody else doesn't mean that it's going to work for you at all or in this current season of your life. Money advice is not one size fits all. And like I mentioned, I have tried a lot of this advice and seen results. And there have been times where I've been like, you know what, this isn't for me. And it's also advice that I give that may not always be right for everyone at that particular time in their lives. So let's get into this video. Hey everyone, this is Bola Sokunbi. I'm the founder and CEO of Clever Girl Finance. I'm also the author of the Clever Girl Finance book series, the book Choosing to Prosper, and my most recent workbook called My Wealth Plan. Welcome to Clever Girl Finance TV. So let's talk about some of the money advice that's very popular but may not be working for you and what you can do instead. Number one, just stop buying lattes and you will be rich. So this is an exaggerated version of one of the most common lines of money advice that exists out there today. Stop buying your lattes and you will be rich. But the truth is that coffee is not the reason why you are broke. Yes, your daily spending habits matter. And in fact, I have told people that, you know what, you want to see what parts of your budget you can cut out. And if that's a daily $10 cup of coffee, that might be something you have to pause or cut out. However, it's not about the coffee, it's more so about your spending habits. And so if you are caught up in this idea that it's coffee that is preventing you from being wealthy, or you just find that advice not useful, here's what you can focus on instead. You can focus on your big expenses. Like I mentioned, it's your daily spending habits that matter. So what is costing you the most and how can you adjust it appropriately? For example, your housing, your transportation, your food, your income. Can you increase your income? Can you adjust your food budget? Can you figure out ways to cut back on transportation? Can you lower your housing costs? These are the areas you want to see where the opportunities lie. You also want to audit your budget for recurring costs and see where you are spending emotionally, because that emotional spending can add up. And then finally, create space for guilt-free spending so you don't feel the urge to binge spend later. So the whole idea here is to be mindful of your spending habits. Number two, advice that people often say is not as helpful is when people say, you know what, just get a better job. Yes, getting a better job can make all the difference, especially if it comes with an increased income, better benefits, and etc. However, the statement just get a better job ignores things like career ceilings in your industry. It ignores things like the time to actually find an interview and get hired for that better job. It also ignores the time you might need to acquire new skills or qualifications to get that better job. And it ignores family constraints, like if you have to move for that better job or if it's going to impact your current commute and you have to commute further for that better job. So yes, we all want to get better jobs. However, there's a lot of things that may not make it as easy as it sounds. And so here's what to do instead if you're trying to get a better job, right? As opposed to just getting disappointed and depressed by that statement, get a better job, and you realize that, okay, you know what, this is so much more complex than it sounds. You can do things like get clear on your long-term income strategy, but also start exploring short-term income boosts through side hustles, freelancing gigs, or even monetizing skills that you already have through a side hustle, right? So what can you do to bring in additional income while you focus on finding that better job over time? You could also focus on increasing your value through skills, certifications, and networking before you jump ship to quitting your job or before you find that other job. How can you increase your skills? What certifications can you get? Who can you network with to help you find new opportunities? And then use your current job to work on your goals right now while you're still employed there as best as you can while building your next move to find a better job. Number 3, advice that is not that helpful: don't worry about investing, just save your money. So one thing to keep in mind with this type of financial advice is that savings alone is not going to build you wealth. Yes, we all need to save money. We all want to have, or we all need to have that emergency fund put aside. We all need to have cash set aside for our short to midterm goals. But we're thinking about the long term, and we're thinking about building real wealth, and we're thinking about retirement. We need to invest our money. Saving is not enough. Yes, we want to save. Save your money. That is good financial advice. However, there is a part 2 to it. So we're saving our money for emergency savings, for short and midterm goals. But then after we have saved, it is time, or as we save, it is time to invest and put our money to work for us while we are sleeping so our money can grow from the power of appreciation, dividends, and compounding. So yes, build your emergency fund, but once that is set aside, create a plan to start investing consistently. Learn the basics of index funds, ETFs, and retirement accounts like IRAs or 401ks. And you can check out the Clever Girl Finance book, Grow Your Money. That is a great investing book, if I might say so myself. And remember that you don't need to be perfect or rich to invest. You just need to get started. By the way, if you are enjoying this video, be sure to hit the like button below and subscribe to this channel. Tell all your best girlfriends about Clever Girl Finance. And then stop by the Clever Girl Finance website at clevergirlfinance.com. We have over 30 plus completely free courses, over 40 plus free worksheets. And when you sign up for a course, you can also get access to our free mentor calls. And we would love to talk to you and walk you through your plans and just motivate you to keep going. And if you haven't already, check out the Clever Girls Know podcast. I interview a ton of really awesome guests on all kinds of money topics, from investing, saving, business, motherhood, and so much more. And so would love to have you check out the podcast as well. And don't forget to follow us on social media at Clever Girl Finance. Okay, let's get back to this video. Number 4, cut out everything non-essential. So this advice is one that I don't like, because basically it leads you to a scarcity mindset, basically telling you that you have to cut out everything in order to make progress with your finances. And that is not true. Yes, for the short term, over a short period of time, especially if you're starting over or you're starting from scratch, you may need to sacrifice not doing certain things. But over time, as things stabilize, you should be able to reward yourself within reason as you make progress with your goals, to help you feel motivated and empowered to keep going. Extreme restriction is not sustainable. And when you go into improving your finances with the mindset of extreme restriction, which is cutting everything out, what happens is that your progress or your motivation is only going to last for so long. Eventually, you'll fall off and go back to your old ways because it's not sustainable, like I said. So here's what to do instead. Number 1, build a budget that reflects your real life. And this should include fun, and it should also include rest. And then you want to focus on intentional spending versus perfection with your spending, right? Being mindful of how you spend your money and building in your wants and your rewards as well. And then create a line item for guilt-free spending your budget so you can enjoy your money without sabotaging your goals. Again, I'm not a fan of the cut out everything because it doesn't work for the long term. Another type of money advice I hear quite often, which is really shaming people, it is shame disguised as motivation, is when people say you should have it figured out by now. Whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, or beyond, you can start over and you do not need to have everything figured out. You are not behind, and everybody's financial journey is different, right? You cannot compare yourself to somebody else's highlight reel. You've probably heard that time and time again. And so no, you don't need to have everything figured out. I don't have everything figured out. I am a work in progress. Assuming that someone should have everything figured out is assuming that that person should be perfect, and nobody is. So give yourself that grace to not have it all figured out, but to know that you're doing your best to make progress and make smart decisions and take action to improving your finances and to building wealth. So as opposed to getting caught up in what you should have figured out, here's what you can do instead. Focus on your numbers, your goals, and your values, not anybody else's. Learn from your past, but don't allow yourself to stay stuck there. Forgive yourself for the mistakes, take the lessons, and move forward. And then give yourself permission to start afresh as many times as you need to, but focus on staying consistent. Money advice that doesn't work. Number 6, don't talk about money, it's rude. This is an outdated money mindset. This is outdated money advice, and this advice keeps people ashamed. It allows people to self-judge themselves, and it really doesn't help people with moving forward with making progress with their finances. Money should be talked about. We need to normalize talking about money because it impacts all aspects of our lives, including our relationships. So as opposed to not talking about money, here is what to do instead. Talk to your friends about budgeting, saving, and investing. At the early stages of my own financial journey, I learned so much from having money conversations with my trusted friends, like-minded friends. Also, ask questions at your job, at work, about compensation, about benefits, about how promotions work, about how raises work. That knowledge is power and can inform you when your annual review comes around, when it comes time to talk about promotions, and when it comes time to advocate for yourself in the workplace. Also, teach your kids, talk to your kids about money, talk to your siblings about money, talk to your family about money, talk to people in your community about what you have learned, and normalize this conversation around money. We need to talk about money. We need to break those old mindset barriers because we're not going to allow ourselves to be shamed about what we don't know about money. We want to have this conversation. We want to be able to talk about it, especially with like-minded people and people that we trust. And it'll surprise you that when you start having the conversation about money, your people who you're talking to will be like, oh my goodness, me too. I'm going through that too. And there's this great, I guess, warmth about knowing that you're going through a situation and you're not doing it in isolation. You're not alone. Other people are experiencing it too. And you can learn so much when you talk to your friends, when you talk to mentors, when you talk to peers and family about money. And it can also empower you to make strong decisions about the way you're dealing with money with certain people, right? Maybe there's boundaries you need to set around your finances. Maybe there's things you need to learn or do better around your finances. Conversations can open the door to so much learning. So the next time you hear money advice that doesn't feel right to you, pause and ask yourself, okay, this is money advice I'm hearing. Great, but does it apply to my current situation? Does it apply to my current season? Or does it not apply to me at all? This is nonsensical. Ask yourself those questions. Good financial advice isn't about sounding smart. It isn't about shaming anyone. It isn't about judging anyone. And good financial advice for you is taking what is relevant and applying it to your situation. And whatever doesn't work, you just leave it to the side. So I would love to know in the comments, what is some of the worst financial advice you've heard? What is financial advice that you hear often that doesn't apply to you, but maybe may have later applied to you? Share in the comments and motivate and empower someone else. Thank you so much for being here, and I will talk to you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. Tell your best girlfriends about Clever Girl Finance, and stop by our website, clevergirlfinance.com. Check out our free courses and our mentor calls as well. I'll talk to you next time.